Okay, everyone, welcome to this webinar hosted by Projectum today. Topic of the webinar is Succeed with Large-Scale Energy Projects, Strategic Portfolio Management. And yeah, as people are joining the room, we'll just prepare for taking off. We have prepared an agenda for you for like a 45 minutes walkthrough of context related to large-scale energy projects and strategic portfolio management. So today we have Brian Tordal joining us to lead in the discussion and some reflection on the challenges in large-scale energy projects. Brian will introduce himself just in a few minutes. Then afterward, after Brian's presentation, I will take over and take some couple of minutes of discussing project portfolio management, strategic portfolio management in the context of large-scale energy development projects. After a couple of slides, we will join and jump into a demo environment, and then we actually will do a live presentation. Hopefully everything will go right, but what can go wrong in a live demo? We will close out having a Q&A where you actually will be able to put in questions. And please notice that we have opened up for the Q&A in the chat. So you have a chat and you have a Q&A button. Please put in any questions you might have throughout the webinar in the Q&A section. Then at the end of the webinar, we will reflect on them and hopefully we could answer any question towards Brian and towards me. With that said, thank you for joining and let's take off. And Brian, welcome to you.
Thank you, Jacob. Do you hear me and see my presentation?
Everything is great, and we hear you loud and clear.
Good. Great. Thanks for this opportunity. Just you could say the entrance prayer to this demo. I've worked with Jacob in the past. I've been working also in construction and development projects over the past, most of my lifetime, professional lifetime at least, and the past 15 years also in large-scale renewable energy projects. And what's close to my heart is enabling sustainable project success, which means it's both sustainable for the people, the teams, and of course the businesses, so we can keep on having success without burning out and without going in the wrong direction, also with the company following the strategy and so on. I've had an opportunity to work with quite a few in this business over the past 17 years, as you see, and this has been both on development projects, organizational development projects, improving project management capacity, training people, implementing PPM systems, but also directly in the projects. So that's sort of what I've spent the last 15 years on, working with the different players in the market, and still do. And it's been a great pleasure and still is. I've delivered and still do deliver anything from project model development over project assessments, where we look into the projects, give improvements, to supporting the PPM system design with, for instance, Projectum and others, but also direct training and facilitation in the projects, and setups of PMOs. That's sort of the services I've been involved in. When we speak about a large-scale energy project portfolio, I think it's important to look at the full project life cycle. And you could say there's one missing here, decommissioning. But apart from that, we start with an opportunity with a large number of projects, and there will be a funnel during development where we sort of select projects. And the challenge here, you could say, is that we have limited multi-project business developers and specialist resources, and that we have a pipeline that's prioritized on a regular basis, and will change as the markets are changing. And you could say one of the other challenges is often in the early development stages, project management, scheduling, resource management is not necessarily a culture in the same way as it is with predictive project management later on. So it's definitely something where there are possibilities also to improve the maturity of the organizations. And you could say another thing is there will also be a transfer of responsibility as we select projects for optimization and execution, construction going forward, and hopefully, yeah, getting more people on board, handing it over to these people from the development, and some will of course stay on the projects, and then hopefully, if it's that kind of business, getting some of these projects into operation and keep on working on that portfolio of operational assets that will keep on going for 25-30 years. So, well, in an early stage of the project, there is a high uncertainty, and this is where we start investing money in the projects, and hopefully the value of the project will increase over time, and it might even be a good thing to get a partner on board that will sort of take part in that investment also, but also sort of cover it with a part of the value and tip in on that value. So you could say it's about getting the highest value creation with the lowest effort and investment, and have low uncertainty as we invest more and more money into the projects, more and more resources into the projects. We get a lower and lower uncertainty, which means it's threats, opportunities, but also direct uncertainties on material costs, fuel, and other things. And well, having a solid project model is definitely also one of the important things here, where you can front load the projects. You might have a good gate governance that secures you have the right deliverables at the right point in time during the project life cycle. So the resource challenge, well, it's about allocating the resources in the early stages to the right projects and get that high value creation. And as you reprioritize your pipeline and your portfolio, reallocate these resources. And you could say, traditionally, you work in a more agile, maybe hybrid way in the early stages, and then more predictive and even hybrid during optimization and construction. And you could say for operation, you could choose any of those. So you need to assign resources to both the projects in the early stages, and some of these resources might also work on a project that's going forward for an FID before construction. So it's about getting the sufficient resources for both the pipeline projects and the ones in execution. You could also have limited installation equipment, where you have to share some of these across the different projects. So the challenge is, as I see it, is, well, what are the right projects to choose? How does the project fit with the company strategy? Is the market attractive? How's the political climate? Could be some of the questions. Is it a solid business case? And how do we finance the project? What is the risk profile of the project? Are there any uncertainties, threats, opportunities? And that could go for both the development budget, the operational budget, but definitely also the construction budget. So any of these, there will be uncertainties, threats, and opportunities. And I believe it's important to take a look already in development at also the operational and the construction risks in the project, and proactively take action on these. So, well, one of the last questions could be, and there are more, of course, I'm sure you can think of more. Do we have the right resources and competencies for doing these projects? Do we need anyone from the outside externally that could support these projects to make sure that we create the right value at the right point in time with the lowest effort? So yeah, well, these are some of the things that will come up, I'm sure, when you consider your portfolio, and I'm sure that Jacob could give some takes on how you could work with this within Power PPM and using AI also. So I'm really looking forward to hear what Jacob has to say.
Thank you, Brian. So with that in mind, that large energy projects and strategy is connected or might be connected, I will just share my screen. And you see it here. So we will take the offset in discussing the future of project portfolio management. When I say project portfolio management, I will talk about the ecosystem of handling projects and portfolios in a company. And afterward, we will deep dive into some kind of demo. So the first thing in the future of project portfolio management is that we have all heard that ChatGPT, AI technology is around the corner. It's here now. So we might have a strategic portfolio. We might have projects to choose from. But how do we enable AI technology in that context? And together with a methodology. Here I have the icon of the PMI. That could be the Project Management Institute. It could be that I am a certified project manager with a PMI certification. And how do I, as a project manager, handle projects together with AI and together with the Microsoft technology stack? So let's look at portfolio management by design. Talking about strategic portfolio management, I'll just set the scene before we will do some demo. Brian introduced that agile work needs to be executed. It might be very agile, it might be very traditional, but in the development phase of those construction projects, we might apply different methodologies. Some of them will be more agile, some of them will be more traditional. That kind of work can be handled in the ecosystem of what you will see today. Then some of the projects, they will be handled as programs. We'll be looking at that kind of work as roadmaps, and then we might cluster those kind of projects into a portfolio. So today you will see that I have a wind portfolio, I will have a solar portfolio, and I will cluster projects into those portfolio, and I'll be looking at those portfolio and look if I have the right development projects in those portfolio that will, by the end of the day, be aligned to the strategy of the company. Talking about the strategy, every time we work with strategy, every time we work with portfolio, every time we work as project managers, we work with management discipline. So if I'm a portfolio manager, if I'm a development manager, I need to have a discipline, and that discipline is supported by the system. So I can put strategy into the system. Handling the strategy and the strategy deployment will focus on the strategy management discipline. If I'm a project manager executing a project, I'll be focusing on the project management discipline. Brian also touched point on the resource management situation. So do we have the right skills, the right people for the right projects as we develop them? So resource management is also a discipline. If we open up the management disciplines, then we'll be looking for capabilities in the system. So if resource management is important in the portfolio, then we might be looking at capabilities like what is the resource demand, what is the resource capacity. We might be looking at roadmaps of projects, the financials. We might be looking at the OKR, which is strategy management. So with those different capabilities, they are all in the system. It's a matter of actually choosing them. Today, I will choose to work with the portfolios, to work with the strategy. I will work less in the execution part of the projects because today's topic is more about also selecting the right development projects, not necessarily executing the projects. And then on top of everything, every company has their own methodology, their own process framework. It could be PMI inspired. It could be OKR for the strategy management. It could be SAFe if we go agile. It could be lean, many different processes. And of course, companies' processes will be put on top of those capabilities so that we handle the process in the company way rather than in a way that the system dictates. So let's take the scenario of what we're going to look at today. I will put in a strategy of how to achieve the growth of my company. That could be by defining some strategic objectives for the company. That could be that we want to grow X amount of megawatt into solar. It could be wind onshore, offshore. So we will set some targets for how many megawatt we're going to actually develop. And then we will break that strategy down to different portfolios. It could be a solar portfolio. It could be a wind onshore, offshore. And once we have the portfolios, we might look into some kind of hybrid traditional execution of the project. It will be more related to the nature of those different projects. There are two kinds of projects. There are the billable projects, when we do an invoice towards someone that we actually do it, but it could also be an internal project. If we do a development project, at some point we might sell the development project. At some point we might do something with it on our own. So there are different flavors of those development projects in the energy sector. When everything is nice, then it's because that we have the resource management situation under control. So on every project that we bring into the development portfolio, we might assess, do we have the right resources? And we can enable strategic planning and scenario planning on top. That means I can actually drag and drop each of the projects to see the impact. Which kind of resources do I have available if I place this development project a half year later, postpone it 1 year? What is the impact on my money? What is the impact on the strategy? And also, what is the impact on the resources? And that's what we're going to touch upon in the live demo. We will enable AI and data intelligence. So in reports, we will then have the overview of the resource situation, the scenarios that we have planned, and we can report that to senior management of the performance of the development portfolio. On the right side, we have the technical platform. Today, we will be operating in Office 365. We will operate in the Microsoft Power Platform, and you will be looking at Power PPM, which is a model-driven Power app where we can do the project portfolio management stuff. I have a separate app I'm going to show today, which is the what-if simulation on top. And we're going to look a little into how I actually can put in a demand for resources. All data can be distributed and made available for Power BI reporting so that we can monitor the situation. We will also touch point ChatGPT, OpenAI, so that we can see how AI actually could support us in this process. Short on OpenAI and Microsoft. So everyone has seen ChatGPT around, everyone knows it's out there, but how can I actually take that and bring that into a construction portfolio, into a large-scale development portfolio of those energy projects? Well, Microsoft, they have thought about it. They have actually been working for quite many years, and they have made some pretty nice design principles. I'm going to touch point on that, but the key message, and we could ask Bill here, so what do you believe? The key message here is that if we as a company will not bring AI into our portfolios and into our company way of working, we will probably be out very soon. Maybe some of you remember Nokia. Nokia was some kind of a, not that smartphone many years back. They were out of business. And why was they out of business? They were out of business because they didn't follow the technology trend. They believed that a mobile cell phone will be for texting. They didn't believe in an internet browser on it. They didn't believe in it, so they were out of the business. Key message here is that AI is all around, and we need to adopt it. The pace of AI right now is insane. So you see on this graph, it actually took Netflix yeah, you see 1,500 days, 1,200 days actually to adopt 1 million of users. ChatGPT launched in 2022 in November, and right now, within 5 days, they actually reached 1 million users. Right now, there are 1.8 billion web visits right now for ChatGPT. So if you like it, if you don't like it, it's out there. And if you don't use it, probably we're gonna think different in the companies. There are many research out there. McKinsey brought a research up upon AI where they focus on how to actually adopt AI into a company. I'll just bring one highlight that is really important here. So to bring AI into a company, what do we need to focus on? You need to focus on the skill sets of the people that gonna actually either develop the AI in your company or you bring AI in. The tech talent, the IT department, those people that are actually going to bring AI into your IT infrastructure. Either they are very, very high educated, PhD level, scientist level, to bring that knowledge into big learning models, and they will actually over time develop that foundation for the AI. Now, low-hanging fruit is that instead of doing this, look into the Microsoft and into the OpenAI technology stack, because it's already there. And what I'm going to show today is that it's there now. I don't have a scientist. I don't have a PhD. We use the Microsoft technology stack to do what you will see in the demo. So one short video, and then off we go for
AI
a demo.
Is already there at scale, right? Every news feed, every sort of social media feed, search as we know of it before chat plus search. They're all on AI, and if anything, they're black boxes. They're more, I describe them as the autopilot era. So in an interesting way, we're moving from the autopilot era of AI to co-pilot era of AI. So if anything, I feel, yes, it's moving fast, but moving fast in the right direction. Moving fast where humans are more in control. First of all, humans are in the loop versus being out of the loop. It's a design choice, which at least we have made. So I feel that it's more important for us to capitalize on this technology and its promise of around human agency and economic productivity.
So, key message here is actually that AI is moving so fast, and Microsoft has designed the principle of co-piloting. The principle of co-pilot is that co-pilot is something that the human being is getting support from, but are still in control, rather than being, you could call it, on a autopilot, where the system is actually directing the way that the people will work. So just take the picture of the Tesla car. It's probably more on autopilot. It's actually just running it, and then you lean back, and then you maybe enjoy the ride or maybe not. Microsoft actually designed it the opposite way, that the human being actually will initiate and get support, the co-pilot. And that is what we're going to focus on today. How I, as a human being, can take AI and bring it into those large-scale projects. So, with that said, let's look into the live demo. And I will just switch to my browser. Okay. I'm in Office 365. This is Power PPM, and this is where I'm going to work with my strategy. I'm going to work with my portfolios of those energy projects. Right now, I'm on the front page, and I can see different working areas. I can look at portfolios. I can look at strategy. I can create initiatives. You might call them development projects. And I can look at my reports. The first thing we're going to focus at is that by looking into the strategy area, I can create different strategy elements. For today's demo, I actually created some sample data that will help understanding the data structure. So right now I'm going into what we call a roadmap, and on the roadmap I will see a data structure and some timing of projects. I will explain. I have created an objective for my company, being the large-scale energy project webinar today. To develop my company and to earn money in my company, I've decided that I need 300 megawatt of energy projects in Europe. To enable 300 megawatts of energy projects in Europe, I've created some key results. The one key result is 150 megawatt solar projects, and the other one is a 50 megawatt onshore wind projects. If you put those numbers together, you might see that I'm still missing actually to define around those 100 of megawatt of other projects. So what I could do now is that if I look into the solar projects, I've created some solar projects in Hamburg, in the Basel region, and in Munich region. I can see the timing of those projects, and I can see some key information around it. Of course, everything can be reconfigured, and you will hear me say that more and more, that I can add cost, I could add return of investment, net present value. I can add statuses, CAPEX, OPEX, DEVEX column. So it's a matter of adding those columns that actually will guide you of the performance of those projects. But what's missing right now is that when I look into the onshore projects, I still need to develop some. So what we're going to do for this demo is that I'm going to go into my strategy. That's the key objective. By clicking the strategy, I can see that I need to develop those 300 megawatt. Right now, I have 150 megawatt of solar projects. I have 50 megawatt of wind. And what I could do now is that I, of course, could create 50 megawatt of offshore. So 50 megawatt of offshore projects. It can be done with one or more projects. So in this example, I'm going to actually activate to measure this performance of the strategy. I'll do it as a numerical value. Right now, I have no megawatt developed, and the target value for this is 50 megawatt. We will start today, and the strategy objective will be done in 25 January the 6th. I will save, and right now I have defined to develop 50 megawatt offshore in this time period, and I'm gonna make a measurement of it. Right now, I'll do my first measurement. I will add a key result on it. Right now, we are today's date. Right now, 0 megawatt, and we are on track because we are not started yet. This way, I put in my first measurement of my strategy. By refreshing here, I can actually see the performance. Right now, we are not even started. Okay, how do we develop 50 megawatt of offshore wind? We do that by creating some projects. I can go to my initiative list. In here, I'm going to add a new project. The project in itself has a stage gate model. Now, with Brian's example on his slide, he talked about opportunity, concept, feasibility, optimization, construction, and operations. In this demo environment, I just have like very simple initiate, define the project, execute it, and close it. I will give it a name, 25 megawatt in the North Sea, and I'll give it a status. We are active, and I will give it a start today, and the project in itself gonna end in December 24, like this. Save. Now I have defined a project placeholder, and now I need to develop the project. To develop the project, I probably need a timeline. I could have checklist where I could go in and say, based on a PMI methodology or whatever kind of methodology, please take care of the scoping, please take care of this, please take care of that. Now, in terms of the timeline of this project, I could start by having a large template of any kind of development project. So you can create your own templates in here. That is actually the template of how to develop. That could be onshore, offshore, solar, whatever kind of templates you have. I could start from AI. So right now, I will actually ask ChatGPT and AI about creating a project schedule for developing a project of an offshore wind project. It should put in some stages and phases. And this way I can actually get a template for my project to start with. So it's just an example of actually taking AI, using OpenAI, using Azure AI, and actually bring that knowledge out there into it. Of course, if you have a lot of project schedules in your company already, and it's stored in your Office 365. We can also work on that data rather going to the OpenAI and ask the crazy internet about all kind of suggestions. Now I don't have that knowledge base in here. So what you see now is that it has created me a project schedule for this development project, feasibility study, do some permitting and licensing, engineering and design, construction, installation. So it brings up this project schedule that I now can start work on. I could also start moving the project and then say, okay, the project needs to start here, or maybe I believe that the feasibility study will take much more longer time. So this way I can actually start working with my project schedule. I could also, and we heard from Brian that talking about risk and issues, when we talk about risk management, any portfolios of development projects might have risk associated with it. So for this development project, I will create 15 risks for developing an offshore wind energy project, and I will ask ChatGPT OpenAI for inspiration for those risks. So in that magic 30 seconds of AI technology, we will go out, ask for inspiration for risks. It will bring it in, and I'm still in control as a human being, right? So I could look at those risks, I could delete them, or I could add my own risk. And this way, what you see now is that it has created a long list of risk: skilled workforce, environmental work assessment, delay in grid connection, political instability. So some of those questions that Brian also had on his slide actually came in here. So how do we mitigate those? It also comes with a probability score, and it comes with an impact score. Of course, I can take those, I can delete them, I can change them, and I can also add my assessment to them. But this is a great way to start working with a register of risks. Any projects also come with financial information, right? So this could be a benefit and a cost structure. So by developing this project, I need to put in the cost of it and the benefit of it. For the sake of a simple demo, I have a CapEx, OpEx, DevEx. It could be the different cost structures. Once I go down here, there will be internal hours, and I can start at multi-currency. I can work with actual, so we could import from a finance system once we have invoicing going on. I could add those, and they could also start calculating estimate at complete, estimate to complete, those kind of financial metrics. I can, of course, work in years, quarter, and another thing is that I could start putting in the benefit of this project. It could be a revenue stream, it could be savings, it could be different way. You have the template and you have the structure, and then I could start putting in also the realization of the benefit. So if I'm realizing benefit during the development of the project, if I, as an example, will sell this development project, I'll actually get some money, and that money could be put in as actually an earning for this development project, and then I'll probably, hopefully, have a positive return of investment. So this is how we put in those money. Now everything is nice, closed. I've created one project. It has been linked to my key result of the 50 megawatt. So what I'm going to do now is that I will go for my OKR roadmap again. I'll be looking at the large-scale energy project roadmap, and now we can see in my roadmap that I have the onshore, the offshore project now, and it's on my roadmap. Once I put in finance data, red, green, yellow, all those kind of information will now be online. So this way I can see how I actually start realizing those megawatt. Now, as this project will hopefully at some point be executed in execution and delivered and handed over to operations, at some point there will be some megawatt actually coming in. So I could at any given time go in and add a result on it, and I could say, okay, now we are probably in June 24. We will now have realized 20 megawatt, on track, save and close. Now I can start following how many megawatt I actually have developed. And this way I can roll this up to the strategy and communicate around the performance of my strategy and how much megawatt in different portfolios. Now, once we talked about the project, and we also talked about the resource management situation. If I go into this project, I might also ask for resources, because do we have the right resources? In the start of the rental project, we are using few very detailed resources in the development phase, and maybe we will, over time in the execution, we will go from like 15 to 250 FTEs. So this way I could go in on this project, I could go in and ask for developers. I will ask from a developer pool, drag them in, and I could ask for 5 FTEs, 2 FTEs, and this way I can put in the resource demand. Once I put in this resource demand on my different resource groups, the demand can then be rolled up and I can do a simulation if those resources are available or not. So this is the way we will put in resource demand into one project. Save and close. Now, talking about the portfolio and the selection of those projects. As you see here, I have a solar portfolio. And in my solar portfolio, I have a timeline. So I could actually start opening up my solar portfolio and understand the timing of my solar portfolio. If I want to prioritize my solar portfolio, in this area, I can add my different projects to the portfolio. In my prioritization of it, I might be looking at different metrics. That could be the progress. Are we started? Are we not started? Maybe a started project has higher priority and then one that has not been started yet. But we could actually go into the prioritization of this portfolio. So I might have a funding year picture of it. And if I'm going to add them into different years, you will see that the budget for those years will go up. So by adding those, I can actually follow my budget and my benefit. It could also be megawatt instead of money. In this case, I can actually plan the different projects in my solar portfolio. If I go to department view, I could also drag and drop them by department, by health. They are red, green, yellow. So if I have a green project that is red, I will drag it in and I will identify all the projects that I have in red. They could be investment categories. You will create different views that give some sense for you. But by the end of the day, I want to do a simulation on this portfolio. So I can open up a simulation. I could create the 2022 solar portfolio simulation. I will do a simulation that will start now, and it will go into a 3 years period. I will add some yearly budgets so that I can start balancing my portfolio. I will select the solar portfolio. I will select my projects. And in here, I can add custom fields that is important for my simulation. And as you might identify here is that some of those metrics here are metrics like I want to follow the prioritization, the investment category grouping, the portfolio name, return of investment. It could be actual cost, total budget, estimate to complete, expected benefits. Different metrics that give something that define the value of your development portfolio. Once I import those information, I'll now create a portfolio simulation. And in here, it will be possible for me now to add those metrics, estimate to complete, benefits. It could be the key result they are linked to. It could be driver, the prioritization, return of investment. So I could add a lot of attributes in here. And I will actually now start importing the different attributes. So you see this project is more important than this project because it has a higher score. That was the scoring we got from the drag and drop in our prioritization. So this way, I will be looking at my portfolio. And once I am in my portfolio, just zoom out a little, it is actually possible for me to start move around the projects. What will happen if I move the project to the future? What if I make the project longer? What if I move it here? The gray is the original date, and I can make the project shorter and longer. Once I do that, I can see the impact on my strategy, I can see the impact on my resources, and I can see the impact on the resource availability in my company. There are different groupings. So if I don't like any projects, I could also start excluding this project. So by excluding a project, I will take it out of the puzzle. And if I had added benefit data and detailed finance data and detailed resource data, I could now follow the benefit of my portfolio. Just for the sake of the demo, I will just jump into the full screen experience of the simulation. And I will take a project where there's a lot of data, just to give you an imagination that these projects are all in my portfolio. Down here, I can see the budgets with green that I have in my portfolio, and I can see the estimate to complete and the actuals. So here I have a big problem. I have a lot of budget or projects for budget that I actually don't have the funding for. So what I could start doing now is that I could go in, look at estimate to complete, and sort my portfolio by the most expensive project. So by moving a project with a lot of money, I'll now see the projects and the simulation and the cash flow start balancing out, and I can see the impact on the strategy. So those pie chart could be the 50 megawatt onshore, the 25 megawatt onshore, and we can see how we support with the projects, taking them in and out. So this is actually the kind of simulation that is possible in here. If I show the heat map, I can also see, do I have the resource available? So in this case, if I go down to my rotating engineers, I might identify that this one project is in deficit of resources. So by finding the R cargo planning project, I will now be able to move around that project, and this way actually balancing out the resources. So this way I can simulate on resources, on money, and on my strategy. Back to the final picture. This is the strategy. This is how we're going to realize this. This is the overview of the project. This is how we developed it. And this way we can communicate around the strategic portfolio of our development projects. We can sell them at the right time if they don't bring value to our company, or we could send them directly into the execution, staff them with subcontractors, do them by ourselves if we own resources by ourselves. And afterward, we could look at the operation portfolio and monitor everything. So that was the demo. And right now, we will then look into the Q&A and see if there are any questions. And I don't see any question in the section. So if you have any question, please feel free to put them in or to reach directly out to Projectum afterwards, because then we could elaborate on it and typically maybe have a one-to-one discussion about the challenges that you see with your development portfolio or your execution of projects and how Projectum could support it. And then I will take the liberty to thank Brian for joining today with some insights of the challenge that you see when you meet large-scale energy projects out there. AI will not solve it, but I think AI will probably give some insights and support for managing large-scale energy projects in the future. So be there or be square. That's probably the key answer. So thank you for joining, everyone.